All
Okay.
right. Well,
Yeah. Shall we?
started. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to the third recorded podcast. Oh, wait, I forgot to. Oh, no, I did start recording. Okay, great. Welcome to the third recorded podcast that we've done. This is also the first one since I became an event organizer for Roblox.
Give me a moment.
Doesn't make
Doing
a lot of
that.
change in any of your lives, but our events are now like on the official Roblox events website, which is kind of cool. Maybe some new people will come in. If you're new, welcome. To the three or four of you probably, and everyone else. Sorry, it's been a while since we've done a podcast. There's been a lot going on. We'll cover most of it and leave out one thing that we can't talk about just yet. But I don't know why I led with that. Now everyone's going to be disappointed. But yeah, there's been a lot going on. Let's see, just some administrative stuff to get out of the way. We've got the new month in review channel, so if you haven't seen that, check it out, and it'll give you a concise description of everything we've been doing, both in September and October. Got a lot done. Very happy about all of that. This past month, November, we've been a little slower, and so there won't be as much to show off, but we're going to go ahead and cover everything that we've been doing and the major stuff that there is to talk about, and then we'll get to the Q&A so everyone can ask questions and pester us about what's going on. Is there anything else to add from either of you two, or should we get started with stuff?
Let's
No, not
just
really.
get into it.
Yeah, let's jump
Okay.
into it.
Um, when should I should have asked this before we got on. Critique, you probably know the list that I sent of our topics. You remember the thing at the top of it?
Yeah.
Should I move that a little later?
Oh no, I would just leave with it. I would just leave with it.
You think we should start out just,
I think we should start. It's good, like
yeah.
kind of good to start off with the bad news.
All right, well, yeah, let's start out with the bad news. Um, all right, here's the deal. So deja vu, everyone. For a while, right, we've been intending to do December for the 1.0 release, and so to start with the good news, we still intend to make an update in December, and it will be a large update. Um, The bad news is not everything that we originally talked about is going to be making it in. Someone already called it out. Yes, player stations will be delayed past December, which is rather unfortunate. When we originally were looking at the schedule, we were pretty sure we were going to be able to make it. A lot of things have happened since then that have messed with our timeline. I'll call out a couple of them. Essentially, first of all, there was some burnout after the accelerator, and then after the accelerator, for like a month and a half or so, we kept working, pretty much nonstop. Um, the so there was a little bit of burnout going on. Um, in addition to that, about a month ago, I got engaged, and that wound up taking up a substantial chunk of my time that I maybe was not entirely expecting to work into the schedule and work around. So that has been going on. I felt like I should drop that in there just to sort of explain. Dandy's also personal life has been keeping him busy, and we've all had a lot going on. And as we're coming into the holiday season, we're all going to be busy as well. So it's going to be difficult to prioritize player stations. Now, the one thing I want to make clear is that we're still intending to do a December update, and it's still going to be big. We want to get in as much as we can, and almost all the stuff you've been seeing us talk about in DevBlog should still be making it in, about a month from now. But player stations was just a little too much. I will say that we do have the nice thing is that player stations are not canceled. So the last time player stations didn't wind up working out, we had to cancel them because we realized there were issues with the core implementation of how it works. This time, that's not the issue. Stations are going to work. They just require a lot of work to make them work. So we don't want to release a half-finished product. So that's why we're pushing it past December into next year. So that is the bad news and the silver lining to sort of talk about first and foremost. I mean, that's certainly probably one of the most important things you'll hear in this podcast today. We'll go over all the stuff that we've been working on as well as some upcoming plans that we will be hoping to make into December. But that's sort of the big news that we wanted to start out with and talk about. So, yeah, wow.
Second thing though is
Get your pitchforks and torches.
second thing is much more exciting and much happier.
Yeah.
Let's just work down this list and just dive right into the good stuff.
Yeah, let's do it. What's the second thing on your list? Is it the same order that my list is in?
Is
I'm
that
looking at the message in dev chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Respond to it in dev and then.
Okay. So yes, that will be yes. So yeah, getting into things that we have accomplished in the past month or so. We spent a lot of time designing and creating the Stardust Shop, which I hope a lot of you saw. If you want to go to the month in review, we have a nice big write-up on what the Stardust Shop is. And so basically the reasoning behind all that, we explain a lot of it. It's a very in-depth dev blog, but the Stardust Shop is essentially a way to make monetization more of a win-win for both us and the players. Starscape makes very little money from monetization right now. We make significantly more from premium payouts even than we make from the actual sold items. And that's semi-rare for a Roblox game. Most of the big games, to my understanding, really make a lot of their money from in-game sales. And so, we wanted to create a more enticing option. I wanted to stop puking every time I opened the shop in the live game. And so we focused on creating a Stardust Shop. Obviously, the Stardust icon and all the Stardust graphic design Critique handled. We think it turned out really nicely. And yeah, we'll be adding, in addition to the existing cosmetics, we'll be adding luxury ships, which we detail a little bit. These are going to be basically trophy ships. They won't serve a purpose in the game the way other ships do, but they're going to be nice and flashy. So if you want to get a ship that is basically that you can just like flex on your friends with, you can get a luxury ship. And we've also been calling them Starliners. We're not sure what exactly the name for them will wind up being. But no matter what they are, you're not going to buy one to get an advantage in combat or in mining or in anything like that. They're pretty purely cosmetic. They might have some very light armament or something, just because we're moving towards every ship in the game having some form of armament to defend itself. So we might keep that in, but yeah. So that's coming. And then the other categories of monetization are clothing, of course, and outfits. And then potentially cybernetics. We'll see what we do there. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what winds up happening. Critique's been working on a lot of Blender stuff, and I've been delving into Blender a little more. And then in addition to that, we've brought some more people into the dev team with bigger, more experience than we have with 3D art. So we might be able to bring out some cool stuff.
One good thing to mention would also be that with Stardust coming, also means that cosmetics that you can purchase won't only be restricted to your ships, but also your avatars, which is why we are going to be and I guess and I think Kath, we discussed that this would be all right to mention
definitely.
that we are probably going to, or no, we're definitely going to be including layered clothing.
Yes.
That's a newer feature that Roblox has been introducing, but this will allow, and at least my plan at this moment is to make it so that all the clothing that is currently in the game will be transformed into a layered clothing look, and this will allow clothing to wrap around various body types if we decide to play around with avatar height and scale. But most importantly, it'll allow me to open up clothing to be a bit more diverse. and allow for new styles and fashions and whatnot for anyone who really likes the customization aspect of the game when it comes to their character. It's going to be much more intuitive than it ever has been. So that's something really exciting.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun. Layered clothing is just like it's going to be so much better than having this 2D texture that wraps around your character's body. We'll be able to give like actual physical geometry to uniforms, like flaps and panels and whatnot. It should be really cool. We've been messing around with all the layered clothing beta features that Roblox has been doing, and we've almost got something working. So we're pretty hopeful about that coming. That probably won't be coming in the December update, but it shouldn't be crazy far off.
Mm-hmm.
I guess in addition to that, we can talk about a little bit more of the stuff that the small improvements we're also looking at for avatars in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll let you lead that one.
Yeah, sure. So in the current game, in the live game, Starscape actually when it started out, it was like R6, and then I changed to R15 in like 2018, and then we did like right now we're at like a 25% morph between R15 proportions and like the realistic body proportions that Roblox has. We're probably going to scale that up a little more. Because one of the things that we're looking at now is things like cockpit animations, and your character actually being able to sit correctly in a cockpit of a ship. And that's really hard to do with a short, stubby, blocky character. So we're probably going to be lengthening the characters a little bit. So we're going to make sure everything looks good. Don't worry. But so that already on the test server, the characters are like significantly taller, and I can't even go back to the live game because it looks like too cartoony. In addition to that, we're going to be looking at Critique's been making some really cool demos for some additional like facial features that we want to do, because right now, like the eye shape, and you can do like eye shape and mouth shape currently in the live game, right? I always forget.
I think that's how it works.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, and so we're going to look to expand that a little bit, introduce things like eye color. That actually, like in the original data scheme for Starscape, I have like a space for eye color in the player data object, because it was always an intended thing, and I never got around to it. So we're going to be looking into adding that sort of stuff as well. But again, don't worry, we'll make sure everything looks nice. One thing I wanted to mention before we go too much further is for when you're asking questions in the thread, probably you want to save your questions for later. Feel free to chat in the thread right now, but if you want to ask us a question, save it for when we get to the Q&A session, which we won't take too long to get there, hopefully, although we do have a decent little bit more to cover.
Probably
Go ahead.
On to the next thing on the list there.
Yes, and this is something. Have we talked about this like at all with the community?
Oh no, this is a fresh announcement, so everyone pay attention.
All right. I wish I had a little more to. Can I share my screen in this?
No.
Oh, really? That sucks. I will post in dev blog then, so people can see it. And this is so. I need to say this. Huge prototype here. Like we're not done with this, but one of the things we've been looking into, and Dandy really thought up a lot of this system, if I'm remembering correctly. When it comes to manufacturing in the game right now, gameplay's a little shallow, right? So we're adding skills. That's something we've been talking about, and we have some updates on skills to talk about soon. But we want to add sort of a complementary system. So skills are like this big overarching, like grand ideas that you train for, right? It's things like I want increased damage for all my kinetic weapons, or all my coil guns and all that stuff. It's for like using things and whatnot. Or, it's like, we'll have some more interesting skills like, improving your core light refining efficiency, things like that. But we also wanted a way to improve the actual per item manufacturing specs. And we also wanted to have a way to sort of lock certain content so that you had to go out and, I'm going to say the word, research it before before you could manufacture it. So we're adding, and I'm going to show the picture of prototype like V1. Like I wish I had gotten further with this, but this is sort of what we're looking at right now of like a research system for the game. And so this would be, you can see there that I've only implemented it for coil guns so far, but the basic way that we imagine it working is that
The images in devblog.
The images in devblog, yes. Thank you. We imagine it working basically that you start out the game having like basic turrets and maybe the advanced variants, the blue variants, unlocked. But then you'll actually be able to improve those recipes through a couple different avenues. So the blue bar you see above the coil gun there is your manufacturing speed, and then the orange bar is your resource efficiency. And so you'll actually be able to improve individual blueprints, which will make your recipes you'll either be able to craft things faster or use fewer resources. And this is something that we've been adding. We've been focusing a lot on combat recently, but then we want to add this for the manufacturing, the industry players who want to corner the market. The cool thing about this is that if you want to, you'll be able to find, since you'll be able to improve just about any recipe in the game, you'll be able to find your market niche, since there are hundreds of items, and like make yourself better than anyone else at producing this one type of item. And then hopefully, you'll be able to corner the market and make a serious improvement. Yeah, go ahead, Dandy.
So, very important thing that he has not stated. So, this research system, it's only for it only ties into, what you can craft, not what you can use. So, if you don't have things researched but you have them, it won't stop you from using the things. Which is why, and this is something we also that Kath, I don't know if you mentioned it, which is why we deprecated the pilot skill tree. That's not a thing anymore.
I was going to get to that, and we can sort of pivot into that, I think, because there's not too much more to show about the research system right now, but it should work basically how you expect. We'll have a more in-depth dev blog when there's a little more to show. But yeah, as Dandy mentioned, we've been looking at skill trees, and the more we look at it, the more the piloting skill tree doesn't really fit. And it's unfortunate, but like the community wasn't a fan of it. And the more we were thinking about it, we were like, so you're gonna buy the piloting skills with credits and like as a licensing program, but then you can upgrade them past that with more credits. It's just weird. Yeah, so we axed it. I don't want to rule out the possibility of having ships that require skills in the future, but I think for the baseline ships, as you're moving up through like Destroyer, we don't really see a use for them. Yeah, so as people are calling out, the rest of the skill trees are intact. We're going to launch, the plan is to launch with 4 skill trees: combat, industry, commerce, and civics. Right? Critique?
Yeah,
you got it.
Civics.
We've been talking about the name for civics, so I'm never 100% sure about what its most up-to-date version is. But and in the future we could do things like, maybe there are certain skills in the combat skill tree that unlock certain advanced combat ships. But for the time being, we're just kind of axing that system. We're going to focus on other skills. I will quickly jump back. I saw a lot of people pointing out in the event chat that they noticed that it said daily reward. So I will really quickly post that, yes, if you click on the Stardust icon every day, you can get 5 Stardust. And so yeah, that'll be a daily reward, and it's just something that it is kind of a sneaky way to encourage you to log on, if I'm being 100% honest. But it's also one of those other things that's like a win-win situation. Maybe you'll come back in the game more often, and check out the stuff that has been updated more frequently, and then also you'll get Stardust. So it's win-win. And it's not annoying, it just shows up once a day, and you just get free stuff if you click on it. So
Honestly, I find it so offensive that you would dare incentivize people logging in. How could you?
I know. I always feel a little. I just feel a little guilty when we implement things that encourage people to play the game, but I realize that's a really stupid way to feel, because it actually is just kind of good for everyone. So yeah, that covers research mostly and skills, I believe.
Yeah, and then why don't we dive right into the insurance changes?
Yeah, great
You guys talked
idea.
in depth about that?
No, but it's coming, and I want people to be aware about it. We haven't. I have an idea of what I want it to look like, and essentially, here's the idea for insurance. So originally, insurance was introduced to make people use their ships more. We wanted to make it so that, like, as you were getting bigger and bigger ships that were more expensive and required more playtime, you couldn't just lose it from like bad luck, because it takes hours and hours to get a destroyer, and that's just not fun. Causes rage quitting. But worst of all, we've seen a huge downturn in like the number of faction engagements, because if you want to win an engagement, you got to bring a destroyer to the field. They're the most powerful ships. But no one's going to bring a destroyer to the field because they're too expensive. If you lose them, it sucks. And we really want to fix that. So we're going to be overhauling insurance. In addition to that, to step back a bit, the original idea for insurance was, hey, if we cover a bit of the loss, people will use their expensive ships. That has not been the case. In fact, it almost seems like the opposite has happened. So we need a new approach for insurance, and I will outline my idea. We have not iterated on this a lot, but I'll outline sort of the idea that I had and that I think we've gotten some decent feedback on, about how it would work. Basically, the idea would be that insurance would be tiered by security status. So ships would come with default insurance levels of like 75, 80% for secure space, right? So if you're just fighting NPCs in secure space and you lose your ship, we don't want you to spend days, having to rebuild it. That's just awful. And then as you go out, as you go to unsecure space and contested space and finally wild space, the insurance rate will actually drop. And we're thinking, at least I'm thinking, that by default, wild space will cause permaloss again, like it used to. And we think that it sounds harsh, but we also know that people like that idea of risk. So that's sort of why we're thinking about doing that for wild space. The caveat to this is that we will likely introduce insurance packages that are purchasable for each ship, and that actually will, in the event you do lose your ship, you can purchase, if you have purchased an insurance package beforehand, say a package that's specific to wild space, or maybe you have a high rank in a faction and they give you a big discount on insurance in contested space, then your ship won't be perma-destroyed if you decide to take it out to wild space. That's sort of the idea. We're going to have to work on it. We're going to have to get feedback from all of you, but that's what I think is a decent it's a decent compromise between having, insurance all the time everywhere and not having any insurance. I know that insurance has been contested. It has been contentious. So, in addition to that, having every ship loss be be able to be repaired with like credits kind of has messed with the economy a little bit. Like insurance makes it so that you never have to spend resources to rebuild a ship if you don't want to. And so we're just going to be looking into all of this and overhauling the insurance system. And we'll be looking at all of your feedback as well. And once we have a better idea, we'll do another dev blog write up on this. So that's insurance.
And then that kind of leads us to our last couple of items. I'm not sure which one you said you weren't going to talk about, but
I'm going to hint at this one pretty strongly. The thing.
Lol.
So
Yeah.
there has been something that has been taking up a lot of our time, at least mostly a lot of my time. The past month, we've been, God, how do I put this without just giving it away? We've been going through a process, and nothing's certain yet. Nothing is. Wow, everyone's gonna be so mad because I'm not gonna be able to reveal much here. We've been going through a process, and we've got a couple more weeks on it. But once it's done, we'll have more time. I don't know how else to put this. Like, it's not directly related to development of the game, but it's making us it's making us think differently about the game a little bit. I don't want to say what it is yet, and I know this is so stupid for me to not talk about it, but
wait, if I might ask, are you allowed to say it?
yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to. But
Like,
I don't want to give anyone the wrong idea.
Yeah, I'll just say it, guys. I have cancer.
Wow.
It could be anything at this point.
I just want to. Here's where I'll leave this point. There is another reason that we've been slow the past month. I've been spending a lot of time working on Starscape, but not exactly working on the exact development of the game and coding aspects of it. And that sort of work, tangential work, is going to wrap up in the next couple weeks. We'll figure out if what we're doing and what we're putting all this time into was actually worth it. And then, about 2 weeks from now, we should be able to tell you what this is. I know that's so lame. I don't know why I really even included it in here, but I feel like I need to explain that there is something else going on that has been taking our time away from core development work, and that has delayed things a little bit more that we weren't originally expecting. So,
however, that being said, once we do have the ability to tell people more about this, it will significantly improve the development process and allow us to continue pushing content at a rate that prior would have been impossible otherwise. But
and that's assuming everything works out how we expect.
Yeah, assuming. But if it doesn't work out, we'll
still tell you. Yeah, we won't just leave you hanging. But yeah, it's this thing that we just don't know if it's going to work out. So we'll see what happens there.
We're gonna have people speculating for 2 weeks.
God, I know. Why did I bring that up? So
it's okay. I think it'll be fun.
So I guess we've gotten to the last item to talk about.
Ooh, this one's the fun one.
This is the fun one, and we've hinted at this.
So JRR cool.
Yeah, well done, JRR cool.
Yeah, so public testing. Just get that out there.
Yeah, we are prioritizing public testing, so we want to get it out pretty soon here, before the December release. Certainly, we don't have an exact time frame, but it's like my next priority, and and we're going to be working on that. So the way that that's going to work, we've hinted at it a little bit, but the current idea is that public testing will be open on weekends on its own dedicated place. And the reasoning for making it only on weekends is basically so that it doesn't just replace the live game, which would be pretty lame. So
And
that is
also
the
give more chances for more people to play since
y-
it's weekends and all that.
yeah, and so yeah, we'll do it on weekends, and the idea is that yeah, we'll just push an update like every week, and just kind of leave it open every weekend. It won't be something that we have to manually open. It'll just open up kind of automatically, and you'll be able to hop in, and hopefully, as we continue with the development of the game, we'll keep it open kind of permanently, so that like as we are ready to push updates and share with you what's actually going on, and some of the new features, we'll be able to push them to the public test server, and everyone will be able to check them out, before they're released to the public. So,
Yeah.
to the live game, I should say. So yeah, that's the plan for public testing. Again, there's no exact timeline there. Dealing with holidays is probably gonna mess up our timing a little bit, but the plan is certainly before the
Well,
December release. So,
as
So
far yeah,
it
go
could probably
ahead.
jump.
okay. So as far as as far as what the other teams of the dev team, for those of you who don't know, the dev team is compartmentalized into a lot of different teams. So our asset and balance team, our objectives are to just get the basic starfighter stats, the entry starfighters, all of their stats finished, which is more or less done. We're also testing out the new rigs and how those work. Modules were split up into rigs from
Oh yeah, did we even talk about that?
no, we didn't inform the community that we split up
Oh jeez.
split up upgrades.
Well,
So
yeah, we'll have to do a dev blog post about that because that's kind of a complex feature. But yeah, as Dandelion was, as Dandy was talking about, yeah. So as part of the ship overhaul, war mods are going away and all the other stuff are going away. And the original idea was to give every ship a certain number of active slots and a certain number of passive slots, or powered and unpowered slots. Um, we've refined that idea further so that it's basically the same idea, except the passive slots are called rigs, and they're divided into 4 categories, and each ship will have a certain number of each category. So there are engine rigs, that can make you go faster. There are, and amongst other things, I'll just give an example for each one. Reactor rigs that change your power output, weapon rigs that change your damage, rate of fire, stuff like that. And then defense rigs, which are things like, nanobots, improved armor, stuff like that, that,
oops.
improve your defenses. Oh, did you post all? Yeah, so those are sort of the ideas there. The nice thing about this is
Just the
that
ideas.
we actually have, similar to the sandbox system we have for ships, where contributors can just add ships arbitrarily to the test server. We have the same system for rigs, so that the balancing and testing can happen without me being a bottleneck. A lot of the work we've actually been doing the past month or two has been to make it so that I'm not a huge bottleneck anymore, because up until recently everything had to go through me to make it into the game. But now that the contributors can actually get some stuff in, we're we're moving a little faster with balancing, and we'll move even
I think
faster with
that
balancing once we have public testing.
So
this is
what you're basically saying is that you can go skiing without consequences.
More or
yeah.
less, although I will say we got a big dump of snow in late October, and there hasn't been like
Uh-oh.
anything since. So it's pretty dry out there. The ski resorts all delayed their openings, so good news for Starscape, I guess. Um, I won't be
Bad
skiing
news for
until
your
after
sanity.
Thanksgiving at the earliest.
I think now would probably be a good time to open it up to questions. And if you
Yeah,
guys don't mind,
is there
um,
anything else that we haven't covered?
I think we're good. I think we're safe to jump into it because we've only got about 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
But
Just did post Warpent.
I wanted to take a couple of seconds just say that I'm going to be rolling out in a moment here. So if anyone has any questions
Mm.
concerning art assets or lore or anything like that, now is
Same
the
for
time.
me.
I will gladly answer those questions.
Did we mention those 2 funny things showing up?
2 funny things.
Yeah, Critique's been working on them.
Can
Both
you?
of them are related to NPCs.
Can you just tell me in dev chat what you mean?
Yeah. I mean, someone was asking about the general state of the game's lore and if it will be
God.
expanded. I'll quickly address that, and you two feel free to answer as well. Just that we know the lore. We just haven't worked it into the game as much as we need to. So yeah, you can absolutely count on lore being expanded with future updates. That's not our focus with these updates. Our focuses are really on making the game playable at all to start. But then, yeah, we're looking at lore very heavily.
Yeah, we're going to weave it in very naturally as well. A lot of it will be, it'll be up to players to kind of flesh out the galaxy on their own, and there will be improvements for NPCs that they can kind of like digest story through the NPCs and kind of now. Well, I want to say, Kath, if you could look at the dev chat really
Oh
quickly,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what Andy was talking about. I mean, it's up to you. It's like I have plenty to say about them.
Go ahead. Yeah, let's
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think that would be exciting.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's cool. It's cool. And we're pretty sure
And
they're gonna make it in. So
we're certain. We're certain.
yeah.
I think we're certain. So, these two announce that we are adding 2 new factions to the game.
NPC.
And yeah, NPC factions. Yeah. So, this is obviously huge because like it's yeah,
They're like
we had the same
6.
couple for a while, and I wanted to kind of flesh out the industrial side of things because a lot of people, they don't just play for faction combat, they also, or at least NPC faction combat, but they also have particular play styles when it comes to whether or not they're like an economic player or whatnot.
If I can
So currently,
quickly interrupt just to mention that I do want to preface sort of by saying um, more a la trade union and syndicate than Cavani licentiate for Alkin. So sorry, continue.
They're
yeah,
minor factions, if anything.
yeah, so they're more comparable to like the trade union, if anything. And the first faction I will say is the mining guild.
Oh wait.
So this will enable players to have a safe place to go and convene with other people who also enjoy mining, and it might lead to some pretty interesting perks and also some interesting and unique ships catered towards players who really focus on that. The other one that I'm extremely excited about is the Credit Alliance, which is essentially a banking faction. There's a lot of potential when it comes to this faction. However, one of the things that I did pitch with it was the possibility of introducing things like heist missions associated with said factions. So it will be very interesting to see how these develop. But yeah, for the most part, they aren't any kind of government or anything like that. They're just new corporate factions that are comparable to the trade union, and I think y'all are going to love it. And I can't wait. Oh, I can show the logos.
Yeah,
I
show the
guess.
logos. I was gonna say.
Give me a second. I gotta just dig them up from my very messy desktop. There's one.
No hide.
While you're doing that, I did want to say, Dandy, it looks like the events chat got unlocked, and so people are
Yeah,
posting
give
in
me a
2
moment.
places. I mean, we can just use the events chat if we want, but it's easier to contain things to a thread.
All right, here is the logos for both respective factions. Will this give me a 30-second buffer?
Where are you posting them? You could just do devblog if you want.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that there won't be any context to it, but
That's fine. We'll fill people in
we'll add
later.
after. All right. Do I have to like ping the blog or anything?
Oh, no, it's okay.
Okay. There we go. So y'all can check those out. And
Yeah,
yeah, looking
sweet.
forward to hearing any feedback that we get from that. Can't wait to. We already have a good bit of lore done for each of them, and of course, all the other factions
I
are.
must perish.
You must perish. I must perish probably very soon as
Oh
well.
man.
Yeah, I have to perish.
Before you do, Dandy, is there a way to link that thread again? Like in the events chat, like at the bottom of events chat, can it be linked?
Yeah.
And then,
Hopefully
yeah, I
you
guess
can
I'll.
access it.
Okay.
Chat mods, you can have fun with that. I need to go. Lol.
Well then,
Good
yeah,
times.
I guess both of you are heading out, so I'll take it from here,
No,
huh?
I'm still good. I'm still good.
Oh,
I've still
okay,
got a
great.
little.
All right,
Yeah.
Dandy, we will catch you later.
Yeah.
Salutations.
I can clear up one of the questions that just came up.
Yeah, go for it.
The trade union will be relatively unaffected by the mining guild. Like, just be they will have similar core functionality, but ultimately, like the trade union will still like specialize in those things. A good way to look at it is that the trade union and the mining guild are in many ways competitors, whereas the trade union is pretty hyper capitalist. The mining guild is a bit more of like a cooperative situation. So they are pretty much the antithesis of each other, and you will get a lot of missions where you are basically tasked with corporate espionage, and you get to do over the other faction and gain reputation with its opponents. So it's going to be a really neat dynamic. It's it's capitalism and it's hyper capitalism and a co-op. Stop
Yeah.
calling it communism, guys. You can't do this to me. Sweats and communism.
Yeah,
No, I'm pretty excited.
it's cool because one of the things that's always bothered me about the galactic geography is that the trade union is wedged right between the Kavani Mandate and the Falcon Empire, and so then and it's the only like major commerce. Obviously, the syndicate's way out there, but it'll help to even out geography a little bit, which will be nice. And yeah, I guess the good way to think of them is that they're all commerce organizations in one way or another, but they have specific focuses, which
Exactly.
is and yeah, we'll probably wind up putting them in certain areas to balance things out a bit.
Yeah, someone just asked that about where the locations will be, and like we're thinking that the locations will be pretty much almost perfectly adjacent to like the trade union territory. So how how the trade union, like Keth just said, is between the Faralkan and Kavani contested. We're probably going to put it near the center of the contested areas, so that way you can haul supplies to each respective front. And it kind of it adds a new dynamic.
Yeah.
So yeah, just something to consider. We're going to update the look of the normal stations.
Yeah, so the station overhaul is part of our longer term plan. We have it mapped out of when it's going to happen, but it kind of depends on that thing I was talking about with the whole 2 weeks until I can let you all know what's going on. So we're going to be remodeling stations, absolutely, because they just don't look great right now. But that's still a little ways out.
Someone asked what both factions are called. If you didn't catch what they were called, I'll just repeat that again. It's the Mining Guild and the Credit Alliance.
I'll answer this question. If spatial voice in Starscape, I'd love to put voice chat in Starscape. There are a few issues preventing me from doing it. Right now it's in, kind of a public beta, but you can only enable it for games that have 30 or fewer players at a time. And in addition to that, there aren't like chat channels yet. There's no support for any sort of chat channels. And that is what we'll ultimately need. Because while I'd love to have voice chat and have you be able to walk around stations, talk to each other, we'd also want to have, while you're in your ship, opening lines of communication to other ships, things like that. As soon as Roblox implements an API for me to be able to do that, I'm doing it. So yeah, we'll definitely look into it.
All right. I am going to say cheerio. Thank you, everyone, for the positive reception on the new factions and whatnot. Looking very much forward to getting those into the game at some point. And yeah, I will say cheers.
See you later. I will
See
be
you later.
sticking around. So.
Answer as many questions as you can. Don't get
I will.
overwhelmed.
I'll try
Drink
my
some
best.
water.
I've only got flat water right now, but I'll catch you later.
That's so boring. Yeah. All right. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.
All right, it's just me and all of you now. So let's see what you got. Yeah, feel free to ask questions about anything that has gone on. We'll keep running this for another, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Let's see. Team chat for NPC and player factions is something that I have actively sort of looked into, but there's still not a fantastic way to do it. Once I managed to take the time to, develop that system, it's certainly possible. It's just not great. But yeah, I would love for player factions to be able to communicate with each other in game across servers. That's definitely something that we'd like to do. PDTs are still on track. Yes, PDTs are still on track. They're actually basically fully functional. So they should be coming with the December release. And to remind everyone what's going on there, we're basically adding a dedicated point defense slot to ships, and so you'll be able to equip various types of point defense turret. We have a devlog on it that you can check out, and it's come a little ways since then as well. Does researching resource efficiency affect repairing destroyed ships? Haven't actually considered that yet, but I suppose it should, shouldn't it? So I'll probably have to, consider that. Are any new ships being added to this update? Yes. Well, so to start off with, all of the ships in the game, all the fighters in the game have gotten remodels. That should be coming in December, as long as we don't get thrown way off track. Those are all pretty well completed and fleshed out. So yeah, so that's all happening. We will be introducing new ships fairly soon, new ship lines. As for which ones will make it into the December update, we're not totally sure yet, but we're actively working on that. Sorry, someone tried to get me with a joke. That's a good one. How fast will most light gunships be? Gunships, yeah. So for those who aren't aware, gunships are sort of they're sort of midway between fighters and corvettes. So we're planning on having both light and heavy gunships. Light gunships will focus primarily on using point defense and forward weapons, and then heavier gunships, I think the plan is to give them, plenty of point defense, but also a couple actual turrets. But the actual definition of light and heavy gunship is still up in the air. But light gunships will be fast. All the ships in the game are getting increases in speed, which is exciting. Things are going to be moving a little faster in combat. Combat just feels better. But yeah, things are going to be moving faster, and gunships will be, of course, slower than fighters. And yes, the Paragon will remain the fastest fighter, but we're kind of looking at making every fighter feel relatively fast. Okay, let's see. More player faction content. Yeah, more player faction content is definitely something we want to do. It's not a focus right now. We're focusing, more on the core gameplay. Um, there are there are a number of features for player factions that I would love to add. That's all I can really say right now because nothing's, set in stone. Okay. Missions will be reworked somewhat once we introduce the new factions. We will be taking a decent look at missions and improving them. I realize they're not great right now, and some of them are actually kind of broken. So we're going to be adding new missions. Critique mentioned possibly having heist missions for the Credit Alliance. And we'll try our best to make them a little less grindy and add more unique missions to the game. But that might not come for a little while because that requires a lot of content and a lot of internal tooling. I'll need to make a robust system for contributors to actually design missions without me giving a bunch of input. Um, Someone asked systems that are changing their security status in the next update. Sometime soon I'll post a detailed map. I've actually added a lot of systems in certain faction warfare regions. We've mentioned this before, but the number of faction warfare systems is getting reduced by uh, about 100 overall. It's around 30 on each front, taken pretty equally from each side, just to make it so that there's more permanent territory, and constrict faction warfare a little bit. We have other plans for faction warfare that will come out in the future, but they are not exactly for NPC faction warfare, but they're not totally like set in stone yet, not priorities. Um, I named the stars. How did I name the star systems? There's an auto-generated script. It's based on syllables, and it basically mashes syllables together with some rules to create something that is somewhat pronounceable. It's not very good. At some point, I might wind up rewriting that code and renaming a lot of the systems, but someone's asking if more systems will ever be added to the Galaxy's Edge. We've always had an intention of eventually adding uncharted systems to the game, which would be beyond the edge of the galaxy. Again, not something that is coming particularly soon, but we do want to add uncharted systems. We do want to add wormhole systems, and eventually things like chaotic systems. And those are, I think, someone mentioned earlier, asked me to talk about the 3 types of new systems. Those are the planned types of new systems, and we will get to them eventually. Okay. When is Solar Sim gonna get fixed? Someday, when I have time, I will fix Solar Sim. Oh, only one message every 5 minutes. That's kind of slow. Can I change that? I was wondering why questions are coming in so slowly. I need Dandy. I don't know Discord. Oh, there it is. Okay, I've changed slow mode to 1 minute on the thread. Any update to anomalies? Yeah, so with the research system, I should go into this a little bit more. The research system, there will be a couple different ways to unlock research recipes or blueprints. The primary way of doing it is actually going to be by going around to we're probably going to do a combination of repurposing battlefield anomalies to not be bad, not battlefield, but like battle wreckage field anomalies, so that they'll actually have like components in them that you can scan and they then give you a piece of a recipe. So that's going to be how a lot of the research system works. And we'll probably be adding a few new anomalies as well on top of that that will, be able to complement that and have a little more interesting than just a, wreckage field. The last time I had a cup of water, I actually have a cup of water on my desk, but I will take a drink here. Someone asked if, never mind. Well, okay. Since player stations are delayed, will player cruisers also be delayed? Player cruisers are not like in the cards right now. I mean, it's something that, yeah, we will do eventually, but there's just no content for them. So it's not something that's really on the list of things we want to do. But eventually we will get to them. Asking me to choose my favorite NPC faction is kind of like asking to choose my favorite child. There are aspects of each that I appreciate quite a bit. I appreciate. I'll just say this. I appreciate the Licentians for their devotion to liberty. I appreciate the Kavani for their focus and emphasis on technology, and I appreciate the Falcons for their strength of will and their passion for life, something like that. We have considered voice acting for the NPC communications. It's something that would be awesome at some point in the future. We would love to have like fully voiced missions and stuff like that. Chances are we won't wind up doing that. Chances are we'll do something that's a little more similar to, kind of like it won't sound like Animal Crossing, but hopefully when I say Animal Crossing, you get what I mean, where they're making sounds that kind of sound like they're talking and that are a little unique depending on who's speaking, but we won't have like fully voiced stuff, at least not for a long time. It would be great to have like a voiced ship AI as well. That's something we'll probably look into at some point. When do I? So yeah, I'll address. When do we expect player stations will be ready? It depends on that 2 week thing I've been talking about, but I can't talk about a little bit. A lot of stuff actually hinges on what comes out of that project. So player stations, they're delayed. It's not going to be forever, but it's variable depending on the outcome of this 2 week thing. It could be within the next couple months, 2 or 3 months, something like that. But again, there's really, it's very difficult to tell until this project that I can't talk about wraps up. So PvE updates. So this is something to talk about, is that for PvE, we're looking towards making the drones more of a threat. Right now, drones are very laughable. Like you find drones and you're like, freaking drones, they're everywhere. I think that what we're going to be moving towards is that secure space and unsecure space, the main enemy will be pirates. And then as you move out into wild space, you'll encounter more and more drones. And there are reasons for this beyond balance. We have reasons that we want to do this, and it'll make drones feel a little more special. In addition, we're looking at NPC AI pretty. It won't be super thorough by the December update, but actually just last night I made some changes that have already substantially improved the AI. We're making the NPCs much faster because we're also making player ships faster, and I've improved their turning substantially. This is actually a cool update from last night. So when you go to warp to something in Starscape, like if your ship is rotated so that it's not facing upwards, it'll rotate itself back so that it is facing upwards. So even if you're like already perfectly aligned, your ship will do like a barrel roll before it goes into warp. That sucks. I've never liked it because Starscape is a space game. That shouldn't matter. So last night I actually made some updates to sort of remove the idea of global up, at least from ship controls. So Now when you go to warp to something, if you're aligned to it, you won't have to do a barrel roll, you'll just warp to it. Same thing goes for NPCs. NPCs right now, they try to orient themselves upwards so that they're still kind of facing up, and it makes all of their movements seem really rigid and unrealistic. It doesn't look anything like what a human would do. But last night I actually fixed that, and we'll try to get some footage out in the coming days of what some of that is looking like. I also made some decent performance improvements to lasers, so I'm increasing the rate of fire for NPCs. I'm about doubling it for things like fighters, so that, you know, it's not like a pew, pew, pew. When a fighter's chasing you, it'll be like pew, 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 pew. You know, it'll be a little bit better. So when I was younger, my favorite animal I think was a giraffe, but I don't necessarily have a favorite animal anymore. Uh, let's see. Clear data option or multiple save profiles. It's something we've thrown the idea around for, multiple save profiles. And there's a chance that we'll get to that point. Clear data option is really iffy. You know, it needs to come with a pretty robust backup system. Like, I need to, even if you clear the data, you can't clear the data entirely, because what if someone's little brother or little sister deleted their data while they were away from the computer, you know, out of spite, something like that. So we need to be really careful with that. But if we have a backup system where like someone can say, hey, I need all my old data back, there's, you know, it's just, oh, pardon me, I do need a drink of water, don't I? You know, that adds maintenance for us, which is difficult to do. Um, Sorry, I'm looking through everything. The LaCroix statue. I don't actually have any LaCroix in my wall. It's just Target brand sparkling water. Um, um, the name of the banking faction is not the Banking Alliance. It's the Credit Alliance, which, I mean, Altern Banks sounds decent too. Names aren't final, but we like them a good bit. I've been skiing for since my junior year of college, so I guess it's been like 5 seasons now, something like that. Yeah, 5 seasons. The Liberty and Virtue are getting remodeled. We will be adding more skins into the Stardust Shop. Most of the stuff that we've announced will be in December, with the exception of player stations, minor factions, and things like layered clothing, some of those avatar improvements. I'll keep it open for about. I'll keep going for another couple minutes, and then we'll wrap things up. I feel like there was something I wanted to mention, but I've forgotten what it might have been, which is really upsetting. Regional ores will happen, probably not by December. So yeah, we want to change. We want to introduce a couple new ores probably and make them sort of spread out around the galaxy. You won't be able to find them everywhere you go, but there will be hot spots, and maybe those hot spots will change over time. Test server will have the public test server hopefully in the next 2 weeks, would be the plan, but Thanksgiving's in there, so we'll see what everything's like around there. Let's see, I'll take like 2 more questions. Oh my goodness. You're all asking good questions, but I'm also trying to save the last couple questions for really good stuff. Let's see. Oh, should I mention that? Someone asked what will the other game modes be? And I would like so yeah, originally when that was posted, we had a few things in mind. One of the things that I think is most likely to happen will be an arcade game mode. I think we've hinted at this a little bit. And it's definitely something we want to do. Again, not a super near-term thing, and we'll see when we can get to it. But it is a little annoying right now that you have to, risk ships to actually participate in any kind of PvP outside of like duels. So. I will address. Okay, here's the last thing I'm going to answer. Is someone mentioned highway systems with buffed warp speed and charge. We've talked a lot about galactic geography and what we want to do about it. And we've had a lot of ideas. One of the ideas was highway systems, just having it wouldn't necessarily be buffed warp speeds, but it would be, longer jumps that take you out further to the edge of the galaxy. Maybe there'd be a highway to Syndicate, things like that. We're just looking at ways to improve the warp experience from system to system. And one of the things, we've considered highway systems, we've considered more anomalies that help you move around faster. We've also considered even doing something like warp relays, where you actually do have to be near a physical structure in order to leave a system. And we're looking at all these options because it's moving around the galaxy right now is tedious, and that's something we realize. And we have a few ideas to make it a little better, and we'll expand more on those as we get closer to implementing them. So that, I think, is all I'm going to have time for today. But I do want to thank you all for joining, and thanks for sticking with me through the Q&A. I recorded all this, so I'll be putting it up on the YouTube channel later tonight, hopefully, maybe tomorrow if I don't get around to it. Yeah, thanks again, everyone, for joining, and we will see you next time for another podcast when we have more to share. Catch y'all later.